Welcome back to Voices of Impact, the space where we explore leadership beyond tactics, control, and quick fixes, and into presence, responsibility, and real transformation. Today's conversation centers around something every leader eventually faces. How do you lead bravely without losing your balance? So, what does it look like to make courageous decisions, set clear boundaries, and build systems that actually support both people and performance? Right. So, I'm thrilled to welcome Joy King to the show for a powerful conversation on leading unapologetically while creating organizations that are both resilient and human centered. So, she's an enterprise executive and organizational transformation leader with more than 20 years of experience helping mission-driven organizations scale impact by aligning strategy, talent, tech, and culture, which is amazing. She currently serves as the Chief Talent Strategy and Operations Officer at the National College Attainment Network, where she strengthens institutional capacity, modernizes systems, and guides enterprise-wide strategy through periods of growth and complexity. So she also is the founder and principal of Sweet Life Business Coaching, where she advises CEOs, founders, and senior leadership teams on leadership alignment, executive decision-making, organizational design, and building durable systems that support long-term performance. So what makes this conversation especially aligned and what we both believe in is that bravery and balance are not opposites. They're actually partners, essential partners in leadership. So in this conversation, we'll explore how leaders can build systems that support the teams, make courageous decisions during times of change, and create impact without sacrificing their presence and well-being. So excited to have you on the show, Joy.
Thank you for having me. Excited to be here.
Amazing. So let's get into it. So yeah, a lot of great questions. I know, we talked about your story outside of this, so love to share it with the audience. So can you share the early influences and pivotal moments that shaped your trajectory from an organizational leader to someone who centers unapologetic authenticity in leadership?
Yes. So I started my career as a high school English teacher. I actually thought I was going to work for the CIA. At least that's what my parents hoped that I would, because I studied Japanese in high school. I think that was probably one of the first moments before I started teaching that I realized learning a different language provides access. I grew up in the inner city of Chicago, and I didn't really see a lot of examples of kind of all the things I could be. I mean, I had parents, thank goodness, and family, but I didn't really know all of what was out there or what options I had. And so learning another language, going to Japan as a 17-year-old, I think was really kind of that first opportunity to just that like shaped me. And then becoming a teacher, I got a chance to teach high school for about 12 years. And I think teaching really is about helping people see their potential. And I kind of take that same thought process, those founding guides, principles into my work even now. So I really think it's that early, I always say I'm somebody who believes in like removing barriers to access. Like that's really my core work. And so Japanese was a way, like a Black girl in from inner city Chicago learning Japanese and going to Japan and then teaching other little brown girls and boys that, from Chicago, I think really was, that was kind of my intro to this work. And so since then, since I have started working, I guess over the last almost 25 years, which seems crazy, I have worked for marginalized communities and I have removed barriers to access in a variety of arenas. And so I kind of challenge people now to do the same thing. I know that people perform best when they feel seen, trusted, and challenged to grow. And so I think those were some of those kind of early moments that shaped me.
Wow, amazing. And that's very inspiring. And the whole Japanese thing, I had friends and family who also felt the same way, that it's hard
Yeah.
going from being raised in Chicago and then living in a different country and learning
Hmm.
that language. Because I've come from an Indian background and I still can't speak the language that my parents taught me. So it's definitely a struggle, but I'm so glad that you were able to kind of do that. And it's inspiring that way,
Thank
the
you.
work that you're doing and the fact that you're here today helping others. So kudos to you and the fact that you're just so authentic about it. And going into, I know we had talked about multiple identities.
Hmm.
So you hold multiple identities like you're Black, you're queer, you're executive, you're entrepreneur, and that's just super inspiring. So,
Mhm.
how have those intersecting identities influenced your leadership style and the choices you make at work and in business?
Yeah, I think, moving through leadership spaces, I've had to learn a lot about how to navigate environments where I wasn't always the what I call the default image of leadership, right? Like, I
Right.
had to spend a lot of time adapting. And I think, I'm constantly aware of systems. I'm aware of power dynamics. I'm aware of like who is and who isn't being included in decision making and who is and who isn't at the table. So I think all of these identities, one, I wear them proudly now, but I know that I spent a lot of time like really trying to figure out how to show up as my authentic self. I often say it's a privilege if you've never had to think about leaving an identity at home in order to show up every day for work, right? Like we think about what we get to put on versus the things that we feel like we have to leave behind. Now I kind of just authentically wear all my identities unapologetically because I had to learn that those things were not a liability. They were actually part of my greatest leadership asset. And that shift really changed everything for me. So I lead now from a place and a belief that the most effective leaders are the ones who kind of stop performing leadership and start embodying it, like leading through vulnerability, trying to teach, the folks that work with me, like lean into that, right? Like we all contain multitudes. We all are, I don't know, you just can't flatten people into these kind of narrow definitions around title and productivity metrics and all these things, right? Like we lose the human brilliance of it all. So I think my leadership style really emphasizes creating environments where people can show up fully. And it doesn't mean chaos or lack of accountability. It just means designing systems where different voices, experiences, and ways of thinking actually make the organization stronger.
Yeah, I love that. And I love how you said embodiment and not
Mhm.
performing. So you're a true embodiment of that. And I can tell like you're just like owning it. And that's inspiring because I just had a conversation with someone who was like, yeah, in the workplace, especially corporate, it's hard, right? And
Mhm.
I've been there, right, fitting into a box and I
Mhm.
had to like dim my light. And as women of color, we're kind of, it's always like that conditioning. But to take it takes a lot of courage, right? To kind of be like, hey, I wear all these hats, I wear all these identities, but I'm just proudly owning it, right?
Mhm.
And people are going to be there, right, to kind of put you in a box, put those labels on, but hey, this is me and I'm proud of it and I'm unapologetic about it, right?
That's right.
So, and the right ones
Unauthentically.
will align with you and the wrong ones will fall away.
That's
And
right.
that's totally fine. That's totally okay.
We want that.
So I love how that shaped who you are and the leader and the true leader that you are right now.
Thank you.
The fact that you're here helping others. Amazing. And I know you talked about running two businesses while serving a full-time mission-driven
Mhm.
executive role, which is incredible, right? So how did you learn to hold that capacity without sacrificing your sense of well-being? What
Mm.
were those boundary lessons emerged
Mhm.
from that experience?
That's a great question. I think wanting to be an entrepreneur, um, and still wanting to have I like to say, know where my checks come from, right? Like, so,
Right.
when you're an entrepreneur, to some degree, you have to chase money, right? But I still wanted to know kinda have the stability of the financial stability of having a full-time job, but also didn't wanna lose sight of that mission work that's super important to me and has always been. So, it's really required me to rethink how I approach capacity and boundaries. The biggest lesson was that time management alone is not enough. Sorry, I'm a little bit under the weather today.
Of course.
You also need energy management and clarity of purpose. Building my businesses, they have to be aligned with who I am. They have to kind of follow those same guiding principles that I believe in. I have to be able to walk my talk in all of those spaces, whether it's a full-time job or it's something that I've created. I became very intentional about what work truly required my leadership versus what truly requires my attention. And those are two different things, and getting clear about those things for me aren't about saying no to everything. They're about saying yes to the right things. And I think that's also an
Yeah.
important distinction, right? Like I protect my time for strategic thinking, for rest, for creativity, because those are the things that actually make me better in these spaces. And I've learned that when you model healthy boundaries, everyone else gets permission to do the same. Yeah, I think I've gotten really protective of my time and space. And I have built businesses where I don't take all business, like, all money is not good
Yeah,
money, and
exactly.
I'm really intentional about the clients that I will work with, and I'm really good about saying no to clients that are not a good fit, and that kind of alignment is also really important. It's the same thing with any kind of full-time endeavor. If there's not alignment, it's not for me.
Yeah, I love that. So I love how you're really intentional. Like you said, like saying yes to the right things.
Mhm,
You know where what's really truly aligned with you, where you're going, who you're becoming, right? Because
mhm,
I had this conversation where we're in that identity shift, right? Things were pivoting, and there's so many people in that transition, and they're like, everything's on their plate, everything's a priority. But knowing, like, yeah, well, some priorities might be, a reflection of your past you. But,
right.
knowing, like, for example, if it is a collaboration or a client, knowing like if this client is truly coachable, is it
Mhm,
like helping them, is it helping me have my business grow better, right? Is it
mhm,
focused, is it kind of aligned to the direction I want to go or in my becoming, right? So like you said, really having those energetic boundaries is key, because even now I'm also in that space where I didn't do that, right? I did not set boundaries. I was like dimming my light. I should, because being an empath, we have that,
uh-huh,
especially women, we want to give to others and we end up over giving and overperforming. And then we're like, shoot, right? Like I just drained all my energy. I don't have
mhm,
time for anything. And the fact that you have two businesses full time, I have my full time, I have two part times, right? So
mhm,
right now it's also about taking rest. If you need to take a day off, if you can take a day off on Monday, that's what I did, right?
uh-huh,
And just really saying no if it's not productive. And what I mean by productive, if it really doesn't align with who
that's
you
right.
are. So I absolutely do agree. So I love how that you've really prioritized that and you're owning it, right? And letting other people understand that, because it is a huge topic and a struggle that everyone is having, especially women.
It's
Right.
true.
So amazing. And going into, I know, I love how we talked about this as well, like that creativity aspect that you
Mhm.
have. So you mentioned wanting to be an interior designer someday. So how does that creative aspiration connect to your leadership philosophy and the way you design organizations and teams?
Yeah, so what the business number 2, so I've got a executive coaching, kind of business coaching business, and then I did start an interior design business, and that was actually my first company was Lifestyles by Joy, which I still do some interior design. And I find that interior design and leadership are actually way more connected than people think. Design is about creating environments that shape how people feel and how they behave. Organizations are the same way. I think about that when I'm like coaching people or coaching businesses. It's all connected for me. I think about designing spaces where people can thrive, be that at home, right? Or be that in your office, or even, a brunch that you might be hosting. It's about clear structures, it's about thoughtful culture, it's about the right balance of freedom and accountability. It's and that to me is the same no matter what kind of work I'm doing.
Yeah.
So just like a well-designed room supports the people living in it, a well-designed organization supports the people working in it. And both require intention, both require creativity and a willingness to rethink what's possible. And I think that's probably the theme that runs through. If you were to string from like Joy, the person, through Joy's Sweet Life business or Joy's Lifestyles by Joy or Joy at NCAN, I think you'll find the same thing. It's clear structure, thoughtful, building a thoughtful culture, and having a balance of freedom and accountability. And those are really the pillars of who I am as an
Nice.
individual. And I think you'll see those things show up across all my work as well.
Yeah, amazing. I love how you have all your businesses around those values,
Hmm.
right? And that's what's super important. Whether you're in corporate or you're an entrepreneur, it doesn't matter if you're a serial entrepreneur, anything, like, revolving your business and building your business around your values
Hmm.
and what you truly believe in, your beliefs. Like you believe in like culture and having that balance, like you said, is super important because you can't thrive one without another.
Right.
So that you have a clear structure and a system and then balancing it out with your creative aspects. Because a lot of women, they kind of are like maybe I'll put the creativity to the side and just
Mm-hmm.
focus solely on structure. And just going with the, like I need to reach this goal, but having that going with the flow piece, right? When we call it the feminine energy with the masculine container, that's how you actually
Mm-hmm.
thrive. And
Yep,
doing that in all of your businesses makes it sustainable, right? You have a sustainable
absolutely.
business, and that's the foundational piece. That's the core piece that a lot of people, they might know it, but like you said, they might not know how to embody it,
That's
right? So
right.
there's a difference. And I love how
Hard to
you
practice
embodied
it.
it too. Yeah, it's all about practicing. And going into that, so going into the themes and leadership philosophy,
Mm-hmm.
one of your, that themes is that you don't have to choose a single identity and you
Mm-hmm.
can take up all the space, right? But how do you operationalize that idea in hiring, promotion, and culture work?
So I think it shows up in your systems, not just about what you talk about, right? Like, sometimes leaders are expected to be these like messengers of a message, right? Like inspiring people. And yes, I think it's important that you inspire your team. But I think it's that philosophy's got to show up in systems. So how we hire, right? Like looking beyond traditional credentials to recognize different forms of expertise. It shows up in promotion pathways, making sure that the opportunity isn't limited to just the loudest voices in the room, right? Like you've got so much talent typically in organizations that we don't always look right where we are to find it. Shows up in the culture, I think, encouraging people to bring their ideas, their creativity, their lived experiences into the work. So I think organizations benefit really when people feel empowered to contribute fully. And I think that's how you kind of operationalize it. It becomes embedded in what you do, not just this kind of layered on top.
Right, exactly. And that was actually my next question because I mean, a lot of people are have that hierarchical, that control, and it's still there, even though it's collaborative. Yeah, it's just really my question. How do you know when they're ready to let go and co-create more effectively? Because there's so many
Mm.
roles and silos. So what are those like indicators, if you can go a little more deeper?
That for when coaching a leader or entrepreneur.
Any leadership team, whether that's in corporate, nonprofit, or as entrepreneur.
Yeah. I think many organizations kind of unintentionally reward burnout. So I talk a lot about rest. And I
Right.
talk about rest as an organizational strategy, not as a luxury. Rest is not a luxury. Rest is a requirement.
Right.
We hear now rest is an act of resistance, right? Like we've got to build it into our structures. So a lot of us grew up with the culture that you get praised for overworking, you get praised for responding instantly, you get praised for being available 24/7. And so when I coach leaders, we really start by reframing the idea that exhaustion equals commitment. It doesn't, right? Like
Yeah.
sustainable leadership really requires protecting your ability to think clearly and to make good decisions. So that means defining priorities. We talk a lot about what that looks like in discernment. We talk a lot
Right.
about delegating effectively and building systems that don't depend on heroic efforts. Like I had somebody say to me years ago that really changed my life, the world doesn't need any more martyrs. And that was huge. As a Virgo and a perfectionist, I
Right.
would I would break my neck to ensure that something was done, perfectly, but there is no perfect.
Exactly.
And so I really try to coach from that place of like, I'm a recovering perfectionist. So boundaries are not selfish, they're strategic, right? And so that all has to be kind of built into the system. So, for example, NCAN is a great example. Every summer, we get a break. We take a month, not a month, I wish. We take a week off. Around the 4th of July week. And that is just a kind of free perk to reset. It's the end of kind of marks the beginning of our fiscal year. And it's just an opportunity to say, you guys have been working really hard. We know all of the kind of effort it took to get us here. Go sit down for a week and do whatever you want. And that is built into the fiber of the organization. That is
Right.
a systemic thing versus something where somebody feels like they have to take it because they're at the point of burnout. And so I really
Right.
try to coach leaders to build those structures in, not just for your team, but for yourself, because
Right.
we can't function at that level at all times.
Exactly. And I love how you kind of have that proactive practices Because
Mm.
there are times when we get to that edge of burnout, and I've
Yeah.
been there, right? And I was like, "Oh, shit, like now I need to prioritize rest." But I'm kind of like embedding it into those practices weekly and understanding, like you said, it's really important to understand why you need that rest and make it
Hmm.
more strategic, that reframing. Because I've had so many clients as women, they were like working. I was there. I'm guilty of this too, even still now, that I just overwork. I'm an Aries, so I'm also a huge go-getter. So
Yeah.
I have to just keep working. And again, a recovering perfectionist as well.
Hmm.
So I was like, I'm just literally like, take Mondays off. And I literally
Yeah.
put that on my calendar. I just blocked it. I told my team. As mentioned, you said to delegate. I just delegated a new team member,
Love
right?
it.
So these are kind of things that we want to start prioritizing, and it's okay, right? And it's not just for leaders and corporate entrepreneurs.
No,
Even if you're a mother, right?
that's
Even if
right.
you're a daughter, it doesn't matter what role you're doing. You deserve the rest.
Yeah, title doesn't earn
Yeah,
you rest. Yeah. And this is my second cold in, I don't know, a couple of months. So I'm also hearing my body say,
right.
slow down, right? Like,
Yeah,
and I'm a firm believer in that. Like your body will shut down and rest and get the rest that it needs. So yeah, it's all about listening. And I think alignment covers kind of those intangible pieces as well as
exactly.
the public ones.
Yeah, exactly. And the body is a huge thing, right?
Yeah.
So, like, I didn't know what that meant, right? When I had a hand pain, I was burned out. I was like, maybe I just need to go to the doctor and put some
Hmm.
pills. But then my partner was like, hey, like, why don't you listen to your body? Maybe it's saying something like, how
Hmm.
many hours are you working? And I was like, we have that stubbornness as high achieving women,
Yeah.
right? That like, no, it's not a big deal. Like,
Right.
I'm that achiever. We have to hit those goals, but sometimes we just really need to slow it down, and there's
We do.
signals, right?
Or we will be slowed down.
Yes,
Yeah.
exactly. And there are time when I had COVID suddenly out of
Mhm.
nowhere, and I was like, how did this happen? I don't really go out much. But then it was the universe saying, like, you need to slow it down. You're going 100 miles per hour. So I was actually forced, right? So rather than being forced into it, you want to take proactive practices and just feel into it, block times for naps. Like, honestly, I take naps around this time. So
Oh, I love a nap.
just, yeah. And I'm really glad that you're here. I know you're not like you're under the weather, but it shows you're committed to this. But anyone who's like, just take the rest, right? You
Hmm.
really need to, as women especially, we're wearing so many hats, we're
We
taking the
are.
emotional burdens on others, and we don't realize it ourselves. So just kind of having that reminder. So I appreciate you mentioning the body, right? The
Yeah,
nervous system and leading with your intuition. So if you have a gut, it's saying something, listen to it, right?
that's
So
right. It's never
I mean,
wrong.
amazing. And this is an important question I
Hmm.
wanted to kind of go into of current challenges. So, you've spoken about generational trauma and breaking
Hmm.
patterns. So, how do these deeper dynamics show up as cultural barriers in organizations, and how do you address them?
Yeah, that's good. I mean, one, I think you've got to be aware of it and kind of what those triggers are for you. Psychological safety is a real thing, and I don't think that we really talk about it enough, especially in the workplace, because historically we would say it's not appropriate for the workplace.
Right.
You don't bring those things to work, right? But the reality is there's no person really that we spend more time with than our coworkers, right? Like when you think about a full-time work, you're spending a ton of time with people who are not your chosen people. And so we don't realize the emotional toll of that. And so being aware of kind of what some of those traumas are, how they show up for you, and what you need in order to feel safe. And I think that's important to talk about. It's not necessarily comfortable, but you've got to be able to say to your colleagues, to your clients, to whoever it is that you're working with, that this thing is being brought up for me, or I'm feeling away by this particular interaction. I'm just a fan of just kind of owning it and talking about it. And again, that's where vulnerability really plays a role. It's hard sometimes to kind of break down those walls with people. So we do it at NCAN. We spend a lot of time in retreat with these intentional pauses, I like to call them, so that we take a break from the work. Right? We are humans. Humans need interaction. Humans need to connect. So we spend a lot of time in team building, kind of breaking down those silos and just kind of getting soft with each other.
Mhm.
It's uncomfortable at first, but I think it really makes a difference in how we ultimately work together. And so people don't realize that the connection between whether you feel connected and safe in the workplace also has a major bearing on the quality of work you produce as an individual contributor and with your colleagues. So um, I think it's important to kind of recognize that there is a place for bringing kind of some of those things to the workspace and how you navigate them. But I think awareness is key, and I think communication is key. Um,
Exactly.
and I think intentionally taking pauses to process some of that stuff and work through it with each other is important.
I love that. I love that. And then the culture is really important. I love how you do
Yeah.
retreats because that's how you kind of go and feel into your body. And then when you listen to your body and those inner signals, you kind of, like you said, you're aware, like what's
Mhm.
going on. So a lot of them, start to journal. So whether that's a colleague or even a friend. So my friend just wanted to share and be vulnerable. So my friend was
Mhm.
like, "Hey, Vina, like I see that you're going through this. You're doing a great job, but I feel like, we talked about this conversation and this came up. And she told me to do some healing work, right? And she was right? And there was just like that generational trauma. The emotions kept coming up, and I had to be aware of that, right? There's the one thing of avoidance, and then there's another thing of awareness, right? So I just kind of want to put that out there because avoidance is the more you suppress it, it's just going to kind of blow up once and you're not going to show up as your best self. So when you want to show up as your best self, you want to make sure you understand like where it's coming from. And I want to put it out there that it has nothing to do with you. This is not
Mhm.
about you. Sometimes we carry the pain of others, right?
True.
It's generations, it's that, but you learn from that. And that's why, as entrepreneurs, if you're in the entrepreneurial journey for purpose driven leaders, actually you're here for that reason. So we
Mhm.
take it as like, oh my God, we went through this pain. But that trauma is here for us to heal and use it as a powerful tool and a way to empower the next generation of leaders, right?
Yeah.
So all of that and really taking the time to talk to people who you feel comfortable with, like you said, and putting yourself out there in the right cultures with the right
Mhm.
people and having that sisterhood of community. I joined some sisterhoods. I recommend a lot of people to find their tribe where you can really share because the more you talk, like, Joy said, the more it feels good. You feel relief than rather than suppressing it and doing
Yeah,
everything on your own, right?
absolutely.
Amazing. The more we bring it out there, the more we can actually shape a new culture and organization. If your company is wanting to scale, it's going to scale in the next 6 years, and you're building a team, like you're going to be like modeling that and embodying that
Mhm.
for the next startups and the next generation in this era, right? So it's very important. So I'm so glad.
It
Thank you for
is.
sharing this
Yeah.
because this keeps coming up, right? So a lot of it, especially for women of color, people have been asking me, and we don't really say much about this, but it's going to actually like, affect how we show up, but learning how to navigate it's so important.
Yeah, and there's no shame, right? Like, we all
Exactly.
have a story, and
Right.
all of what we've experienced was necessary. If you believe, like I believe, there are no accidents, right? Even the bad things that have happened, right? Like, are all necessary parts of our journey, and we got to give ourselves grace for that. We got to forgive ourselves for the things that what did it say? Decisions you made when you didn't know any better, right? Like all the things, right? Like all of that is necessary, and it gets us to where we are today. And I think if you're building an organization or building a culture, it's got to come from that space of like we deserve grace. We deserve softness, right? Like we deserve to be able to share, our trauma or the things that have hurt us because all of that makes us better and we learn and we realize. I think the most important thing is that we're not alone, like you said. Like so many
Right.
of us experience these same things. We keep them hidden, we suppress, we don't share. We're also not helping the next person realize that it's okay, that what they're experiencing is okay and it does get better. So I'm not saying it to say that it's easy, right? Like being
Right.
vulnerable is one of the hardest things to do, but it really does help shape culture in a positive way. And those are the people that I want around me, folks that
Right.
that are not afraid to lean in to those parts of themselves so that they make them and us collectively better.
Right. Exactly. A lot of people were, like I said, were going through the similar things. And the only way I knew is I put myself out there and I shared it.
Yeah.
Yeah, and if they don't resonate, and it's okay, right?
Mhm.
Not everyone's for you, and we have to be honest with that ourselves. But there are people who are going to be like, because literally for the past few days, I've been talking to people who literally were like, "V and I'm in the same boat as you," right? And
Mhm.
it felt really good just kind of bringing that out. I suppressed it. I was like, I never talk about these things.
Mhm.
But when I put it out there, I was like, oh my God, like, and they
Yeah.
were like, hey, let's connect, let's talk, like, let's do this together.
Now there's
And
community. Yeah.
yeah, it was just such a relief. It was powerful, it was beautiful, and I was like, "Oh my
Mhm.
God," right? So now we're all getting together to kind of help the next, emerging leaders and
Yeah.
everything. So we're helping to make a better place. But of course, it all starts from within. Some of us are change makers and trailblazers. And if, as an entrepreneur, we're here to do that as a purpose, right? We're
Mhm.
doing it because we have a purpose. Sometimes we are, the God's child. The universe has given us something we're here to do. So when we come from that place, we realize like it's okay to we feel safer in our body
That's
to
right.
share that, right? And be vulnerable. So it feels good, right? So
Mhm.
amazing. And going into the advice, so what advice would you give to leaders who are called to something bigger and they have a purpose, but are unsure how to begin? Like if they are truly carrying multiple identities and responsibilities?
Yeah, I think if you're called, you got to take a leap. I would
Mm.
say, what they say, do it afraid, right? Like,
Right.
so especially, I'm just going to talk to my women of color for a minute. There is not a single credential that you can get that's going to make you feel like you've accomplished enough to do the thing. You just got to do the thing, right? Like, don't spend any more time getting another thing unless it's like a credential you like have always wanted, and fine. But if you're thinking, and I'll give you this example, especially with interior design, I was like, oh, I should probably go to school and I should probably get certified in this or that. And then I was like, but why?
Right.
Why do I need to do that? People will hire me or they won't. Either my ideas are good or they aren't. Like,
Yeah.
but you have to just take a leap. And especially if it's something you feel called to do, especially if there's passion there, don't dim that passion and that light by second guessing it or letting other people tell you that you are not qualified enough to do it. Just do it. Like, just do it. So I think that's number one. Don't do it from scratch, right? Like, so many people have already taken those first steps, have learned those first lessons. So get you some community, talk to people, ask questions. Don't be a gatekeeper. A lot of people are like, oh, you have to gatekeep because people will steal this or that. If it's yours, it's yours. If it's theirs, it's theirs. What's meant for you will find you. Like, I don't ever worry about gatekeeping. You want to know something? I'll tell you all the things. I'll tell you all the things where I failed and all the things that where I was successful. And at the end of the day, it's still my journey and it's still your journey. So
Right.
get in community with people and learn from them, all the good, the bad, the ugly, and don't feel like you got to reinvent the wheel. So I think that's super important. And then build a structure that is actually sustainable for you. Sorry, my dogs are in the background. But build a structure that's sustainable for you. If you don't want to work Monday through Friday, don't. You get to build what works. And not and I said it before, but not all money is good money. If it doesn't feel right, if it doesn't feel aligned, if it feels like too much of a stretch, if it feels like you're being taken advantage of, like all those gut feelings are real
Right.
and you need to follow them. I think all of my work is very intuitive based. All my businesses were built through intuition. Yes, there's some like tricks of the trade and some learnings that I've picked up along the way. But I think things that have made me really successful have been when I've listened to my gut and I've said yes at the right times and I've said no at the right times. And those things have been huge for me. So I think those are the things that I would say, and I also always joke, like, I never built businesses the way people tell you should
Oh
build
yeah.
businesses,
No.
right? Like, I don't
Mm-mm.
follow any rules. It's kind of my way. I just gotta do what I want. But I think that works when you approach it with authenticity. You don't take yourself too seriously. You can be honest about, what you know and what you don't know. And I think the world opens up for that level of unapologeticness, right? Be
Right.
kind, treat people well, and be unapologetic. And I think they say your gifts make room for you,
Right.
and
Yeah.
so yeah,
Yeah.
just take the leap, just do it,
Yes. I love this. Take the leap of faith, right? I
just do it.
mean, yeah, like it's actually a fun process, right?
Mhm,
And sometimes when I went into this, we're always logic focused as high
mhm,
achievers, like, oh my God, what's gonna happen? But what is the worst thing that's gonna happen? And you
yeah,
might fail and you get back up and you go on again.
that's
But
right.
even if you take the leap of faith, it's not about numbers and metrics, like you said. It's
Mhm,
just that one person you can impact,
yeah,
right? It could be through your voice, it could be through your presence, your light. You just help someone shift something inside
mhm,
them, right? It could just be like maybe they were like, "Hey, thank you so much." Like, for just small things, right? You put a
yeah,
smile on their face. That's what this is all about, right? And that's why you're here, right? To
mhm,
impact others and think of it as an impact and not focus. Of course, like you said, you need that structure, right?
mhm,
But you want to let go and surrender. And like you said, the more you surrender, even for me, when I listen to my logic and like, I have to do this content, I have to do it this way, it never worked.
right,
And I went back to square one. Now I listen to my intuition, my signals. I was like, I just pivoted. I pivoted from executive coaching to spiritual business coaching in
mhm,
the span of 3 months. And I'm like, I don't really know much. Like, should I do this? And I was thinking logically. But I was like, let me follow my heart, right? And everything's super aligned. I'm here today. This podcast is doing well. I've gotten so many collaborators, so many soul sisters. It's
mhm,
been a wonderful journey. It's been fun. Of course, if I met my goals and numbers, no, right? But at the same time, it's not about that at
right.
all. I've impacted a couple of people, and I know every entrepreneur is doing that right now. We're getting, as a community, we're rising together and making the world a better place. And that's what this is all about. So I love how you said take the leap of faith. And I would say
Yeah.
it's totally worth it. It is really worth it
It's
for
totally
sure.
worth it. And the reality is people are buying you, right? Like
Exactly.
regardless of what business you're putting out there, it's the relationship, right?
Exactly.
So my first interior design client was my friend. I didn't have a portfolio to show her. She was
Right.
just like, yeah, of course you could redo my bedroom. And I'm like, great, right? And it just kind of starts from there.
Right.
You need your first follower and you need, people need to buy into who you are.
Right.
And then, the rest, sure, of course, deliver quality service,
Right.
deliver on time, all the important things about running a business, but really be you first because that's really what people are buying into.
Exactly. Absolutely. And it's that easy, right? We think it's like complicated, like business plan, all of that. But
Mhm.
I learned that like that's what I learned from like being a woman of color. My family was like, "Oh my God, will this work? Like, do you need the funding? All that stuff." And I
Right.
was like, "I have God, I have universe in front of me. I'm just letting it go. I put that out there. I'm serving my purpose."
Hmm.
And people will love you for that and buy you for that. They will want to work with you because of who you are and the energy you
Exactly.
bring, right? And that's what's that's contagious, right?
It
Like you
is.
said, it's really about the relationship and building trust. Once you have that, the rest falls into place, right? Of
Hmm.
course, you need structure, like I said, but this is the main. So I love how the faith, believing in yourself, clarity with who you are, self trust, and
Hmm.
then a relationship
That's right.
with your potential clients or whoever that is. And I would agree that this also applies for not just business but for anything in
Sure.
life. I
Yeah.
do it like money, wealth, even for my own relationships, my romantic personal
Mhm.
relationships, it's very similar. It's all aspects of our life. So it's not just completely just career.
Yeah, we've got to show up as who we are, otherwise who are people in relationship with, right? Like if,
Right.
they don't get to see you fully.
Yeah.
And I know that that's really important to me as a
Right.
person who's like often felt misunderstood or, I was the firstborn and to a mom who had me young and so you grow up fast and you have responsibility early so I never let people see me fully because I just I wasn't always confident in what they would see or if it was okay, and then at some point you shed that and you realize no, that's what people want to
Exactly.
interact with the authentic you, and And again, those relationships flourish, those doors open, the business comes, it all sorts itself out. But yeah, being authentically who you are first, I think just sets the tone for all of that.
Yes, absolutely. And we think it's just, yeah, like I said, we just think it's one or the other. It's all
That's
interconnected.
all
So
of
if
it.
you're leading authentically in your business, it will spill over to your relationships. Like you will see it just naturally comes in. And that's happening
Yeah.
for me right now. And when I used to push and just wouldn't work, like I would push for my business, the other relationships wouldn't work for me, right? It just didn't go anywhere. And I was like, why is the same thing happening on this side for my career and my personal life? And I realized it's the interconnectedness.
That's right.
And that's the feminine leadership, feminine energy, right? A lot of women don't really, they kind of suppress that. But I want you to like be that goddess you are, be that woman you are. You're
That's
meant
right.
to be, right? And you'll see that it's easy, it's fun, and you don't have to like hustle for anything, right? So,
No, I am
yeah.
anti hustle. Yes.
Exactly. Exactly. I love this conversation. And what's next for you, Joy? Are there any new programs, projects, or shifts you're calling in?
Well, this is good. What's next for me? So I've been working for probably 2 years now on an affirmation deck. I'm actively letting, what is it, good be the enemy of perfect or perfect be the enemy of good, however you say it. I had a spiritual guide tell me, you kind of get pregnant with it, and it delivers itself when it's ready. And
Yeah.
so I think I'm on the verge. It's shifted. So there are a few iterations of like, what do I want people to like walk away with and have?
Yeah.
And it's intimidating to think that people are going to hold something in their hands. And so there's an affirmation deck. Let me just
Love
claim
it.
it. That's coming. And then the other thing that I'm working on is a podcast, actually,
Amazing.
really around topics like this, right? Like, I wanted to showcase like fun side, like, I don't want to think too hard about it. It's really about having a good time. We're these like bold, big personality, important women who need to just laugh and
I
get
love
together and have like, girl talk.
it.
So I'm working on that also. And then still, coaching. Most of my business has been referral based. And so I like it like that, but I have opened up my executive coaching more recently
Amazing.
to other people that I don't know. So yeah, again, trying to just keep it easy.
Right.
I want to do important work. I want to feel good about that work. I want to make sure that, I'm extending myself into the world in the ways that feel good and right. And also that I'm still getting to take my naps when I need to.
Yes. Yes. That's important. I love this. Yeah, so kudos to you. I'm so excited for your podcast. I love
Thank
that.
you.
Yes, we all need that girl talk. I enjoy it as a host. I'm sure you will enjoy it as well. And yeah, the affirmation deck, I would love that too. Because, like, I do affirmations every morning,
Hmm.
and me and my other business partner, like, we always send each other affirmations first thing
Yeah.
in the morning on WhatsApp, and we just love it, right? And it just brings us so much happiness and joy and sets the intention for every day. So I
It's
love that.
how it's how I get through. And I think part of the challenge has been like, okay, you got to put a number on it, right? Like you got to, 100 cards is probably too many, right? Like, so dial it back. And what's the most important? And is it for entrepreneurs or is it for, women in particular? And, who's the audience? So like I said, I think it's in the mix to finish and, figuring itself out. But yeah, that is who I am also, right? Like that, setting those intentions, really thoughtful with my words, how I frame things. If you're going to think negatively, you got to think positively, right? Like there's got to be balance. So it's important to me to share some of those things with the world. And so when they're ready, I'll let you
Yes,
know.
love that. So excited for you.
Thank
And I'm so
you.
happy. So I hope that really goes well. Just doing what you're feeling into it, right? So you're called to do, go for it. I love
Yeah.
that. Yeah, so let's go into switch gears for a moment and do a
Okay.
quick fun rapid fire round.
Okay.
So no overthinking here. Let's see. Coffee, tea, or don't talk to me until I've had both.
I actually have given up coffee for the most part, but probably I'm a chai tea, actually.
I love chai
Yeah.
tea.
I'm a
Yeah.
chai tea. Yeah.
Yeah, I love it. I used to be a chai tea, now I'm doing coffee, but I think I need to go back to chai tea.
Yeah. That's
Yeah,
my favorite.
amazing. And okay. Let me see. A book you've always recommend to people.
First thing that came to my mind just now was Pedagogy of the Oppressed. It's one of the first books I read in my practicum as an educator, and it totally shifted how I look at education,
Okay.
how I look at kids. It talks all about kind of the banking method with like how we are taught to learn versus how we should learn. So that's just a whether you're in education or not, read it.
Right. I love that. I love that. I'm going to check it out. So definitely going to read this. And if leadership had a soundtrack, what kind of music would it be?
My leadership soundtrack is probably the same soundtrack for my whole life, which is like 90s R&B.
Yeah.
It
Yeah.
is like easy, catchy. Yeah. I think there's always a good hook, right? Like I
Right.
just it's a go-to. There's the standards, right? Like they never get old. They're always relevant. So that's my soundtrack for all things.
Amazing. Amazing. Yes, the 90s. I'm in the 90s. I'm a 90s girl, so I
Yes.
totally can relate to that. I think mine would be like a little bit more Bollywood because I'm just into it, but it's just
Ah,
like fun and like sexy, but at the
yeah,
same
I
time,
love
it's
that.
like, yeah. So it's fun. It's fun, but it rides the waves at times.
Yep,
So that shit is it is that's it is what it's for me.
I
So
love it.
amazing. I love this conversation. Super inspiring. So it's been a very grounded one. And what I really appreciate about your perspective is the reminder that leadership isn't just about strategy or decisions, but it's about building systems, cultures, and environments where people can truly thrive, right? It's very important. So when leaders have the courage to set boundaries, align strategy with values, and lead with both bravery and balance, organizations become stronger, more resilient, and more human, right? So for everyone listening, if this conversation resonated with you, I invite you to stay connected and continue exploring what aligned leadership looks like for you. And if you feel called to be part of a broader movement of leaders building from identity, integrity, and impact, I'm also beginning to open the doors to something I'm very excited about called Sovereign Rise. So it's basically a global collective for entrepreneurs and creators who are building businesses, communities, and ideas from a soul led place, right? So it's not just for content, but it's a platform where leaders collaborate, elevate one another, and co-create meaningful impact. So it's actually a founding one coming up and it's free. So if you feel called to be a community builder or a founding sister, brother, partner, speaker, anything, I'd love to hear from you. Until next time, keep leading with clarity, courage, and integrity. And thank you so much, Joy, for being part of this podcast. It's been great with your wonderful insights. And
Mhm.
thank you, everyone, for being part of the Voices of Impact community.